What's going on, everyone? Nicholas Natt, and you are tuned in to the Natt Fitness Method.
You crazy mother.
As you know, for those of you who are returning guests, this platform is really designed to help you maximize your potential and figure out how to take yourself from where you are to where you want to go. Now, that's definitely a lot easier said than it is done. So my goal with this show and company are to be able to provide you the actionable steps and strategies that will help you execute on your goals and take you to that plan B. So my guest today is none other than an exceptional business lady, mom, wife, and incredible retired bikini pro. It is the one and only Crystal Rose Harvey. Crystal, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I was so excited to bring you in, Crystal, and to have a conversation, obviously for a multitude of reasons. And I think we can go in any number of ways when we have this podcast, when we have this conversation. But the important thing that I want to start off with before we get into a little bit of your biography is this pet peeve that you have. And it's sort of just this notion of people saying, well, just be who you are. And there's this philosophy that you really have cultivated. I think that's helped transform your life from when you were a little kid to the woman that you become and the mother that you are now. And so talk to me a little bit about the idea and the notion of exploring and asking yourself the internal introspective question, who am I?
Okay. Yeah, when you said pet peeve, I'm like, wait, which one did I tell you about? Yeah, I used to hear that all the time. Just be yourself, just be yourself. And it is interesting because a lot of people say that, and that is one of the things that is much easier said than done, because I believe a lot of people walk around not actually knowing who they are. And that is, our life mission, really, I believe, is to discover that. And to just tell someone to be that, they actually have to go through a process of discovering that first. So.
Absolutely. So it's funny because I think just about every person, right, like every guy, I think at some point in adolescence has definitely been told, well, just be yourself. And it's not bad advice to really let people authentically know who you are. But I think, naturally, especially in this day and age with technology, with people really moving into becoming an entrepreneur or even an intrapreneur and finding their voice, their place in the world, a lot of people actually don't know who they are. And so talk to me a little bit about when you were challenged on your perspective of who you were. And I think you had mentioned that you had attended a seminar.
Oh, yeah.
A friend at the gym had brought you to this place, and it was just kind of a doors opening experience for you.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different avenues when it comes to personal growth and development. And I've always been interested in why humans behave the way that they do. And I mean, even my college degree is in psychology. I was so interested in that. But there are cognitive ways of learning, and then there are actual experiential ways of learning. And what I share with people a lot is, think of your very favorite movie. What's your favorite movie?
Let's say, that's a good question. Put me on the spot right there. Let's say The Matrix.
The Matrix, okay. In, a few seconds or whatever, explain to me what happens in that movie in a way that I'm going to get it. Can you do that?
Can I do that? Absolutely. So the short order is that you have a artificial technology that eventually enslaves the human race, and the algorithm, which is essentially the intelligence, inserts a savior back into the matrix, which eventually is going to liberate the human race. And every time that's essentially happened, it's failed. And so this guy is supposed to be the one culprit, and the whole journey is about finding him, bringing him into the light, into awareness, and then eventually the journey to save the humans from a third enemy.
Okay, so two things happened here.
Sure.
I heard your perspective of the movie.
Right.
And, well, I guess the other thing is not happening. I was not moved by it.
Ouch.
And it's
Ouch.
so that's why we get so excited to invite somebody to a movie with us, because I would get to experience that. And so much about what we get from movies is that experience of different things will move different people. And we all have a different soul inside of us. We're all different, the same in a lot of ways too. But that is what we're trying to discover along the way, is like how to listen to that inner voice. And that's why different experiences, different movies will affect us all differently. And so we like to share in those experiences. And so that's why when it comes to personal growth and development, it's one thing to read a book. It's a very different thing to go to an event and actually experience that event and be among others who are going through the same thing. Now, had we been watching that movie together, we would actually have, and I've seen it, but you could have told me about any movie, and I could have had an opinion about what you said to me, but we're only working from your perspective at that point. Had we experienced the movie together, we'd both be in our own perspective and be able to grow through that conversation. And so the event that I originally attended is called Landmark. Have you heard of Landmark? I think I mentioned.
Yeah, you definitely did mention that, correct?
Yeah, and there are a lot of different events like this, but one of the first things that I would say, if somebody is on the path to really discovering, or they're curious about who am I, or something else is calling me, I'm not quite sure how to find that, or I know I'm stuck, I'm not happy right now, but I don't know what that thing is that would have me feel happier, that would be a really great place to start, is find an in-person event that you can go and share with others that resonates with you. Read about it, read reviews, whatever, and something that is revolving around personal growth, something that resonates. So did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. You did. No, I think it's an interesting notion that you talked about from a perspective, right? Because we can all sit down and watch the same movie or listen to a speech, and we're going to completely interpret that based on our own introspective and subjective opinions and points of view. And it's funny because we could be talking about the rain that day, and depending on what mindset you're coming from or what perspective, you're going to have a very different opinion in how you portray that, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely understand where you're coming from, in how there's this like middle piece, that there's just like this ambiguity between what we perceive, that's a whole different conversation, versus what's really true. Why is self-development as a whole, and again, first of all, how would you define self-development, and why has that become so important as a staple in your life?
How would I define self-development?
Or self-growth?
It's discovery. It's remembering who we are. You mentioned kids, for instance. You tell kids to be themselves. I think kids are sometimes the best at being themselves when they're young, and then something happens, right? They don't fit in, or they feel left out, or something makes them feel like they're stupid. They start to lose their confidence along the way. And those are all by experiences. So I think it's actually really powerful to share with children, be yourself, but also helping them learn how to tap into themselves and what that actually means is really powerful. So when I look at what is personal growth, what is that? It's the access to following what feels good, learning how to listen to ourselves, and then acting on what we discover. Meaning if something isn't serving us, being able to let that go, being able to apply what we're learning in this conversation with ourselves to our life, and actually, one of my mentors, her name's Nirka, but she always says, when you change, the world around you changes. Tony Robbins says that as well. And so that's something, that I would define personal growth as you evolving more into yourself, growing into the person that you were truly meant to be. And then your life and your relationships will start to reflect that. And it's worth the work. It is work, or it can be. It's fun work if you're into it. But
I like that. I like the emphasis that you said it's work, right? Because I think if you were to ask anybody what is their ultimate goal in life, right? Like people, want to acquire different things, they want to have experiences, but in the end, all of those are mean to an end based on the way that we want to feel.
Yeah.
And so I like what you really emphasized there about going and doing the work and then the world shaping around you, because I feel like if you don't live an authentic life, if you don't have a genuine understanding of who you are, what you're about, what makes you tick, what is fulfilling to you, like what moves you in spirit or what moves you physically, then it's hard because you're almost wearing a mask and you have to remember when to put it on, when to take it off. And we've all been through that, right? Like, different stages in life, adolescence, or if you're working or if you're trying to fit into a social crew. So I think that's a very powerful statement that you said about discovery. I would have to agree with that. Crystal, you've been able to do so much. And I think, at this point, obviously everyone can understand that you're a pretty well enlightened, very spiritually connected individual, but you run a very successful company with Tiago. If you guys have not had a chance to meet Tiago, definitely go back into Natt Fitness Method. That is Crystal's husband. You guys raised an incredible young man, Courage, and you guys have been parents, but you guys have also been able to be highly influential in the health space and helping people really find out that mind and body are connected, and so you've been able to help them show strategies. Let's talk a little bit about the fact that obviously you became a bikini pro, and we'll touch that, but what was compelling, what led you into getting into fitness in the very first place?
What led me into getting into fitness, part of it was because I felt really skinny and I didn't feel...
You said they had a name for you.
Yeah, there were a few, but I don't know which one you're talking about. There were a few. I used to get teased for being really thin, or flat-chested, that too. Maybe you're talking about Missouri. My nickname was Missouri. Is that what you're talking about?
Was it? No, it wasn't Missouri. It had something to do with the legs.
Are those your legs? Are you riding on a chicken? Or
chicken,
is that your, is that a
yeah.
string hanging from your shirt? So I just always was really drawn to seeing athletic and curvy women, that had I remember one of my best friends in high school, she had these muscular legs. I was like, how do you even do that? So I was drawn to that athletic yet feminine body style, and I didn't really know how to get there, and so that was, I think, my initial move toward that. Was I felt not very feminine, and I admired when I saw that body, and then beyond that, it was, I would say, I struggled in athletics a little bit, partly because my parents didn't have a lot of money for me to dive into team sports. Those costed money. And so I always wanted to play sports. I played some younger, but they got more expensive into high school and those types of things. And so I think part of the draw to getting into athletics, it was something physical. It was something that I could do, that I could be responsible for. And it was my athletic expression. I was like, I'm an athlete in here. I just haven't been able to really express that. And then I found this path and I went for it.
I want to continue to push a little bit further before we kind of tap into how you did incredible things that you did in the physique world. But for so many people, adults, adolescents, young adults, especially people who are seniors, they find themselves stuck, and it's hard to shatter that glass, right? And I call it the glass ceiling because it's definitely something where you can see that there's opportunity and you see that, but for some reason you can't move past that boundary. And that's the notion of, I think, having a growth mindset when people approach fitness or health, right? They want something, they see that, and they feel some sort of pain, whether that comes in the form of something external, like people giving you a name, or lack of confidence, right? There's a ton of stuff. Mm-hmm. But many people don't take that upon themselves, and sadly, for more reasons than we probably talk about even on this podcast, they choose to compromise and they accept it. And they go, well, I'm just a fat girl, or I'm the fat guy, or I don't deserve to be with a good-looking person, or oh, I'm just not good at sports, right? And so somehow that subconscious begins to shape that reality, probably arbitrarily, to your point about self-development, but it shapes that reality around them, and they find themselves. So at a younger age, when you were in school, how did you do that? Because so much of the world, the industry that obviously I'm a part of, is built around helping people achieve that. And so much of that is neurochemistry, and the other half is obviously the science. But you were able to do that from a very young age when a lot of people wouldn't have the guts to start that journey. And so how did you cultivate that level of ambition, but more important, that belief in yourself to start?
Your questions are so big. I'm like, where do I start? How did I cultivate that belief in myself? I was very driven, and some of those questions are really hard to answer because I don't know exactly where that was coming from in a lot of ways. I always sought mentorship with adults. I would always I would pull myself closer to things that attracted me, people that attracted me. I would get really curious. Even when it came to my report card and my grades, my parents were so much less hard on me than I was on myself. So I don't know where that necessarily came from. But when you spoke about things get painful if you're not, like you can see the other side, that I'd say pulled me more than anything. It was painful feeling like I could do more and not doing more. So from a really young age, I don't really know how to answer that. I was who I was. It was more as the years went on, I really started to lose my confidence, and that's what I had to kind of regain as an adult. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, I think it definitely gives perspective. And I guess if I'm looking at this from a bird's eye point of view, right? Let's say you're not who you are, I'm not who I am, and we're looking at what you were to accomplish. We can see that there's a young individual, a woman at that, right, going through school, and for lack of better words, there's this not nice things being said. And with that, there's not just what people are saying, but it's also the way that we feel about ourselves, right? It's the self-esteem, it's the self-efficacy. And so a lot of people, have these different experiences. I didn't have a lot of money. So they don't think to themselves, I'm going to go work. They just accept that
it becomes their identity.
It becomes a part of their identity. Yeah. And you, aware of it or not, made that choice to begin going to the gym and begin to empower yourself. And the important part was you didn't have all the answers, right? Like that's like, obviously from our conversation, we know that, right? That you didn't have all the answers, but you started. And I think so many people get immobilized because they say that, right? I have to, okay, what do I need? And where am I going to go get that source? And they live by that perfection complex if they're willing to start. Some people never do because they're too intimidated. And you got into the game. And so what would you say to somebody who might not have that special potion that you had, who struggles to crack outside of an identity that they don't want to be labeled permanently?
First of all, become very aware of how you're speaking to yourself. If you're saying I am something, you're identifying with that. If somebody is saying I am fat, that they're identifying. That's going to be hard to break no matter what you do. And even if you do break that, you're going to end up there again because you're identifying as that. So if you hear yourself saying that to yourself, pay attention and change that narrative at least to I am carrying extra weight, or I have extra weight I'd like to lose, or even attaching to, instead of what you want to lose, what do you want to gain? I am inspired to feel great and have a ton of energy with my children. I'm inspired to feel confident in my dress for my wedding. Turning those types of identifiers into a different language concept makes a huge impact in what we're continuing to tell our subconscious, first of all. Then, second of all, when we are looking at this whole big picture, I mean, for instance, when it came to the fitness world, if I would have started off before my very first show and looked at pictures even of girls that had been on the Olympia stage or whatever, I might have been like, I'm not even going to start that because there's no way like I will ever be there, because you don't know, you've never done it, and there's not a clear path in how to get there. And so it's like, take the next step. Like, what would the next step of progress for you be? For instance, when I was first wanting to go to the gym and shape my body, this is before I ever even knew about fitness competitions, I felt so intimidated that I would even pull up to the gym sometimes, and if there were a lot of cars, I would drive away. Like, I didn't even want to walk in because I was like, oh, I'm not going to look like I know what I'm doing and this is scary or whatever, and I would leave. And then I would just force myself through that, but then I'd walk in the doors and I'd be like, what am I working on today? So what I found got me through even just the threshold of feeling comfortable and confident and having the courage to actually walk through the gym doors was having a plan. I discovered that for myself. It's like, okay, if I know I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do cardio today, that's just stick to the plan. Once you're in there, you can't think. So just go in there and pick what you're going to do that day. If it's that you want to work your upper body, have an upper body workout plan. Don't expect to go in there and be like, I know I can do curls, but now what else am I going to do? Like, anxiety is going to kick in, so have a plan and look for the very next step. So when I started going in there more regularly, I found I was only comfortable doing the cardio machines because that's what all the other girls were doing. But I knew that like the weights were actually going to be what was going to give me like the body shape that I wanted, but I didn't know how to do that. So the next thing that I did is I'm like, oh, I'm going to hire a personal trainer so that I can learn how to do that. So I didn't know what to do, but I knew somebody else did. And that's really like the key too, is if you don't know where to go, success leaves clues. You'll hear Tony Robbins saying that repeatedly: success leaves clues, success leaves clues. So find someone, even if you're not in direct contact with them or can be, they've probably written a book, they probably have content that you can explore, something you can read, or if they are in your direct reach, request like, hey, can I pick your brain for a minute? Or just find out the next step and hold yourself accountable just for the next piece, because that's what's going to actually lead somewhere, and that somewhere might even be beyond what you're imagining.
I love that. You really broke down three key pieces that I kind of took away in that. You had a great chance to talk about conversation, right? Like, I think we are so critical as people to ourselves. We won't tolerate as much, negative talk from the outside world, but we constantly tell ourselves things, right? And the sad thing is, if we become comfortable with that, then the unconscious mind says that that's okay, and we don't create that tug of war of, is this the right thing? And then, like you said, the subconscious goes out and really shapes that reality around you from a mindset perspective, and then obviously from an actual real perspective. I love what you talk about in terms of preparation. I think that that's definitely something for many people that they lack, right? And it's not necessarily bad, but it's like, I refer to this all the time constantly as terms of like the New Year's effect. You're like, okay, cool, I want this thing, and then they just like jump in, and it's like, okay, well, do you have some plans? Do you need everything? No. I think you'd also mention that in the third point, where it's getting the next step, right? And whether that's seeking help, success leaves clues. Follow the person that's done that, emulate it or make it you, and you'll find that way. But so many people don't do that step two in the preparation, because I know for myself it was tedious. It was just boring. I was like, let's just go. Let's just figure it out. And again, a lot of bad things can happen that way, or like to your point, you lose confidence and you begin to make decisions in the short term. So I dig that. Let's talk a little bit about where you were able to go from there. So you were able to get a trainer, and you had a friend who was not a friend at the time, I think, who basically, in the most genuine, caring way, came up to you and asked you, "What are you doing?" This was John.
Yeah, I just talked
Tell
to
me
him
about
yesterday,
John.
which is funny. So many years ago in that gym, I found a trainer, and there are a lot of great trainers out there. There are a lot of not great trainers out there. We'll just be honest about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one that I was working with, I just wasn't really vibing very much. And then I met a friend in the gym. He came up to me and was like, "Hey, what's your goal, basically," or something like that. And again, it's been, I don't even know how many years, probably almost 15 years since I met John. But he knew how to work out. He was a muscular dude, and he became my workout partner. And he was actually going through a divorce at that time, and I didn't realize like his life was so much in the gym because he was, working through his own emotional stuff, and we just became great friends. It was, a lot about timing, and he taught me how to work out. He taught me about body parts. He taught me, how to lift. I started feeling really confident because I had a buddy I got to meet at the gym and also have really great conversation with, because he was, I don't know, I think John might have 10 years on me, maybe 12. He was older than me, more life experience. And he actually introduced me to a book called The Selfesteem Prophecy. And at that point, I think I was 18. I had never even, no, maybe 17 even. I had never even, I'd been interested in human behavior and psychology, but I'd never actually dove into anything personal development related. And he gave me this book and told me to read it. And I remember I was laying in bed one day reading it, and I read like the first few pages and I got really annoyed because I was like, oh, this is fiction. I hate reading fiction. And so I texted him on my little flip phone. That's how long ago that was. And
Back in the Razor days.
Yeah, back in the little, the little tiny flip phone days. And I was like, why are you having me read this again? And he messaged me back and he just said, there are no coincidences. It's like, okay. So I opened up the book and the very next sentence that I read was, there are no coincidences. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I read that book all the way through. And that was my first little light bulb. And I'd say my first oh, okay, that's like a thanks universe, thanks for the message, really is how I receive that. And I'd say that's kind of when I started to really open my eyes as to that whole question, who am I? And or at least consciously doing that, so did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, it was cool because, I think in the weird way, obviously you were paying a trainer, but you found John. And from there, you had a chance to see a flyer posted for a show. And this was Carla Sanchez.
Fitness Fiesta 2009.
2009. Okay.
What year are we in? 2021?
2021.
How many years ago is that?
I think that's it's 11, 12, I think it's 13 years ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah. Okay, so 13 years ago, I saw a poster on the gym wall.
Yeah. So I could have did that wrong. Don't quote me on that.
We're not mathematicians here.
Yes. I doing math on the spot's not my forte. Where's my phone, right? So you had a chance to dive in to Carla Sanchez competition. You'd never done one before. Why did you jump in, and what was that experience like?
At that point, maybe heard about a fitness competition or seen before, fitness competitions, but the bodies always looked really big and muscular to me, and I respect bodies that get to that point, but for me, that was very much out of my natural build, And so I never thought, oh, I'm going to go and become one of like the figure girls, you know. And the bikini category hadn't existed up to that point. And so when I saw the poster, it was a girl that didn't look like what I used to see in the competitions. I was like, wait, that looks like me, like a worked on version of me, but that looks like my body kind of. I was like, oh, that could be attainable, and something I had been struggling with when it came to my fitness and working out, now that I had moved past that I'm afraid to go to the gym, was consistency. You know, something else would come up, or, you know, so I was going to the gym more than I ever had, but I wasn't consistent. I'm like, oh, if I give myself a goal, if I give myself a stage that I'm getting on, I'm going to actually see what I'm capable of in that space. And so I was like, I'm going to do one show and see what I can get my body to do, see if I can achieve that muscle and shape that I had desired, you know. So really it was just a personal goal at that point. I saw the poster, I liked the body, and I wanted to get mine to look like that.
Awesome. So you do the competition, right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Well, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I basically starved myself. I mean, I see the old pictures. You can see my ribs through my back. But I did well. I mean, my genetics did well for me that day. I don't remember. I think I placed well. But there was also like this other fitness model thing that they threw in there. And so I got to wear like a cool outfit that I liked. And I don't know. It was fun. And I did well. And so I got kind of addicted to it in a sense, like, oh wow. And yeah, I believe it was at that event that I met Mark. Yeah.
Salazar.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he knew this world. I had no clue what I had even just done. I was like, oh, I did a fitness competition, but he knew the world. He'd been in it for a long time, and he saw potential in me. And so he shared with me, oh, got to do more, got to do this, you know. And so it was a lot of his influence.
So it's remarkable stuff. And
Mark's
again,
gone, sorry.
Mark passed away. He left us last year, but his memory still lives on in spirit. So
super sweet man.
Great man of influence. And so, you know, obviously you had this mentorship from Mark, and you kind of talked a lot about that. You've always been a person who's sought out people who, you know, are worth getting information from. And so you started doing competitions. You started doing really well. You went and did a national show. For those of you who don't know, again, in the bodybuilding world, like anything, there's levels, right? And before you enter a pro level, you kind of have to take this test. And the problem with it is that there's this small door that only a few get the opportunity to enter. And there are not just a number of people trying to get through this door. There's a number of great qualified people, and so this is the creme de la creme. You're walking into national stage, you've never been on one before, and you're looking back, and there's all these gorgeous women back there who've done the same thing that you've done. And so how did that experience go?
Oh, I was so intimidated. I was like, what am I doing? Yeah, it was crazy. And I didn't have a lot of confidence. You know, I had been doing well locally, but there was always this, I'm just going to do one more show. I'm just going to do one more show. I didn't ever have the aspiration of even going professional. I mean, I didn't at that point. That wasn't on my radar. I was just going to do one national show. You know, just like I was going to do one show to start off with, and then it turned into a lot of local shows, and then one national show was turned into a lot of national shows. But I actually, I don't even think I shared this story with you. What was that like for me? It was insanely scary. I was completely intimidated, and I even was trying to cut my nerves a bit, and I took half of a pill that a friend told me would help me calm down. I was completely like drunk on stage, wobbling around, like it was a shit show. Can I say that on here?
Sure.
Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a mess. But I did well, shockingly. I ended up placing in that show, even though I was like super wobbly and shaky and all of that. So I didn't feel like I belonged there, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it. But I went anyway, and I made it through. And I learned to never take uphill before you get on stage again. And yeah, I kept going after that.
So we'll fast forward. Obviously, you turned pro. You mentioned something brief that you have always had this kind of notion of, okay, I'll do one more show and kind of call it good. And that happened for a show that you won. You weren't originally going to do it. That was Puerto Rico?
Tijuana.
And so you go to Tijuana. Yeah, it was going to be one and done. You win, and you qualify for the Olympia.
Well, Tijuana was going to be my last show.
Last show.
I had been competing professionally at that point. I think it was my second year, maybe my third year. It was my third year competing professionally, and I had done well. I'd been like placing in the top 5 sometimes, and then you'd go to different coasts and not place, and it just screws with your mind quite a bit. And you know, anyone who's competing at that level knows, like, it is, you can't half-ass it and get on that stage. Like, it's a sacrifice. You know, so there were things I was battling with. It's like I see this ladder and I want to climb it, and at the same time I feel like it's really sucking the joy out of my life. At that point, I think what really frustrated me with Tijuana is I wasn't going to travel for like my niece's birthday party or something, because I didn't want to have water. I didn't want to carry water from traveling 2 weeks before my show. I'm like, this is absurd. Like, I'm choosing my physical body over my family. Like, what is, like, it just didn't resonate with my soul, you know? And I was starting to feel that, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm 2 weeks away from Tijuana. Like, I remember just talking to myself, it's like, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to finish this, and this can be my last professional show. Like, it's good. I don't have to keep going. If I'm not happy, then I'm quitting. And I freaking won the show, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have to do the Olympia. I can't qualify for Olympia and not, like, do it.
Sure.
And it was that show was actually a really great experience. You know, it was a different vibe. I loved the crowd there. I'm still friends with some of them from Facebook, and that was 2013 or something like that. And it was just really sweet people, and I'm really glad that I followed through with that show. But yeah, I wasn't gonna.
So I love that you have gone through the stages, and like you said, you've really taken the time to emulsify yourself and get to know yourself, right? I think that was Lao Tzu said that, like, know thyself, right? I could be butchering that quote, don't quote me on that, but and so many people, I think, have a good understanding of how they react in certain situations, usually when there's some extreme of an emotion, right? Anger, hunger, whatever that is. But you strike me as a person of intention, you know, very well thought out process, and really living your life in the now based on design, based on, you know, the architecture and the engineering of what you want to manifest, what you want to see, and what's important to you. And so from your standpoint, kind of shifting gears, for anyone who might be struggling with anything, whether it's what they want to do with their life, their social identity, economic, their physical health, and they don't know where to go, they feel like their environment is obviously not conducive, whether it's because they don't have the role models or they don't have the content, right? What would you recommend for people like that, based on how you've been able to zero in on something and put yourself in the action stage, whether or not that's worked out, and many times in your case it has, but what would you recommend for somebody like that who might be stuck in life and they don't know where to go because they don't have the education or the background of resources or the belief of resourcefulness?
Where would I go with that? So I will say that we all have the same resource, which is our inside. Now, do we all have the same capacities to access it? No, but we all have that. And so I think when somebody's feeling really stuck, it comes to questions. It comes to the word why, in a lot of ways for me was powerful. We're all motivated by different things, and when something doesn't feel good, that's a good indicator that even if you're good at it, like a lot of people, like we're talking about being stuck, like a lot of people are stuck in something they're great at, but they're still not fulfilled. You know what I mean? Like, maybe people on Wall Street or super successful people up in high corporations, high corporate jobs. They have a great financial life, but maybe a terrible family life. Like, I think people are stuck in all different areas. And, something that I'll give one exercise that people can do. It's something called perceptual positions. And I don't know if you know this, I have a background in neuro-linguistic programming as well. I took a deep dive into that. And
I didn't know you were involved in NLP. No, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, but anyway, the perceptual positions exercise that I learned in my classes was really powerful. So basically, when we're inside of something emotionally and we're feeling stuck, you're like, we can't see anything inside the frame. Like, you can't see the picture if you're inside the frame, right? So a practice that people can work on if they're feeling really stuck or really emotionally charged is they can remove themselves from their body. This sounds a little crazy, but what I mean by that is look at themselves, like zoom out. Like right now, you and I, we could zoom out and look down at us talking to each other. Right. Now I've removed myself from the frame. And now I can look at, like, what would I tell myself right now to tell you? Or what would, and so sometimes if you can remove yourself, zoom out and pretend like you don't know that person that you're looking at, what advice would you give that person? It's so strange. Sometimes we know what to tell someone else, but when we're trying to talk to ourselves, we don't know what to say to ourselves. We always seem to know what's better for everyone in our lives around us, right? So that's a way. It's like to zoom out and look at the picture like you don't know who's in it, and what would you tell that person? And we can give ourselves some pretty amazing advice when we can get out of the emotion of it.
I love that notion of stepping outside yourself and almost leaving the emotional sentiment of whatever might be baggage and looking at yourself logistically, holistically. When a person knows, because a lot of times people do, right? They know, I know I shouldn't do this, right? Or I know I shouldn't have that, or I know I shouldn't go there, I know I shouldn't be around this person. How can a person take action on that advice? Because I think that's, like, to know is one thing, but
you're right.
The action is like hard. It's almost immobilizing for some.
You're absolutely right about that. And so often we fear what's on the other side because the unknown is so much scarier or it can be so much scarier than the known. Like, we actually get, like, in our minds, we're like, I hate the position that I'm in, yet you're staying in it. You're choosing it. First of all, take ownership. Like, be responsible. Like, I'm choosing this. What am I getting out of this? What is the payoff? Oftentimes, it's your subconscious keeping you comfortable. It's your subconscious fulfilling on your identity. But, I mean, I even told a client of mine, actually, she was struggling financially. She was struggling to get out of a relationship that she was unhappy with. And so solution-wise, and what I invited her to do was start looking for other places to live. Like, step one, you don't want to stay in the relationship that you're in. It's toxic. Get out of, like, I can't afford to live anywhere else. Get out of all of these things because you haven't even looked.
Right.
And oftentimes when we're problem solving, it's like, yeah, maybe you can't go and afford to get into the house that you're in right now or whatever. Maybe somebody's looking for a part-time roommate. Maybe you can find a place to land for 3 months that you could build and save to get into the next place. It's like, start looking. Oh, well, I'm reliant on this person because they're paying my car insurance. Some of these things that girls get into in these toxic relationships, I mean, men can too, but it's like, okay, well, start getting quotes. Maybe you could start paying your own, like start getting quotes, like taking action on looking for other alternatives makes all the difference. So dream a little, You know, if you're feeling stuck, it's like it all goes back to that next step. What's the next step that you can take?
Right.
Maybe moving out right now isn't the step because that's overwhelming. Like that takes moving trucks, that takes money, that takes where am I going to live? That takes all those things. But what could you do? Well, you could pull out the internet and Google places nearby, people needing a roommate. Like do the little steps.
Right.
And you might be surprised what solutions you find.
It's absolutely it's pivotal that you said that, because it's solutions. I think you'll get the answers to the questions you ask, which
Absolutely.
is why that's so important.
Yes.
And I like that your instruction is really on, this is a solution. Like if you're looking for a solution, if you're looking for remedy, resolve, right? You have to ask the questions that are going to give you the position. And many times what's gotten in my own way, and I know this gets in, especially for people who are overachievers, is what eventually gets in the way is it's like, okay, I want this to happen, but I want this process to unfold. And I want it to happen this way. And when I think we remove the sentiment and we become focused on the objective and the goal rather than the process and how it happens, then amazing stuff like that happens. And, you know, hopefully whoever's hearing this has a great opportunity to take a lot of what you said, because it's very powerful to point people in that direction. And I think the world is so used to looking at all the reasons why something won't work.
If you look for it, you're going to find it.
Yes.
And what are you asking?
Well, like you said to
Absolutely.
Tony Robbins, everything wrong is always an availability, but so is everything that's right.
Yeah.
So.
And I love what you just said too. It's, what is that quote? It's, if it doesn't surprise you, it wasn't the universe. And I really love that, because we get attached to, this is the outcome that I want. This is exactly how it has to happen. And people might not even realize that the outcome, or even better than the outcome that they're looking for, might unfold in very unexpected ways. And if they're forcing it has to be this way, then they actually might not get that result that they're so attached to. And they might never know. So it's like that unattachment. It's like, I'm going to be attached to the next step because that's my part. I'm taking action.
Right.
And I'm committed to what I want, or even better than what I want, unfolding. And it might not look exactly the way that I expect it to. You know, I thought I was going to marry probably a blonde-haired, blue-eyed German dude, because that was like my type, you know, like, and I married the first, well, maybe the second brown man that I've ever dated, you know. We think we have a type, and we think we know who we're going to end up with, and oh my gosh, like beyond what I ever imagined. If I would have been stuck as like, I can't even go on a date with that guy because that's not my type. That's not who I date. That's not who I'm used to. And then I would have never met my husband.
Right.
You know, it's
Construct.
Just kind of, if I was forcing how
Absolutely.
it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. So I think your notion of constructs, you know, many times we can get in our own ways. And, you know, that was my mindset. You know, I can't take credit for it because I was actually turned on by this book from one of my mentors, Tom Bilyeu. But he did say that Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, and the notion of that book synchronized what I always knew to be true, but she just put it in science in a way that I could read and understand it and go, oh crap, I totally get it. And if your approach to anything is there is no solution, whether or not you're saying that to yourself, but if it's the belief, then you're absolutely right. I think you're going to run into more brick walls, and you're going to find your life in this construct, and that's that glass ceiling, right? Whereas if you are working on yourself, and that is hard because it's humbling, it's putting the ego aside, and it's accepting pain, which we're programmed not to do, right? Especially from an emotional, from a spiritual standpoint. And we become receptive. So the fact that you give that advice is incredible advice, but you've definitely lived that, and your story and how you've attain what you've been able to attain and influence the people you have is pure indication of that. So thank you for that, Crystal. I want to get a chance to ask my last question, but I also want to make sure that everyone can figure out how to interact with you, how to connect, find out more information about what you're doing in business, what you're doing for self-development, and what you're doing in the health and wellness space. So how can people find out more about you or how to connect?
The best way I'd say to connect with me right now, Facebook, Crystal Rose Harvey. Search me out there, Messenger, and we can talk. I mean, there's so many things I have my hand in. Who I'm most inspired to work with are people in the fitness industry who have a passion for health and fitness, who want to expand, create leverage, help their clients even more, but expand beyond their 8 hours that they have in a day. So I can help people in that position. I love helping women who are pregnant, women who are working after they have a baby to get their bodies to a place where they're happy again. I work with a lot of people in that position as well. But yeah, just connect with me on Facebook. That's probably the best way.
Awesome stuff. Last question. Are you ready?
Ready? I don't know.
So,
I think I'm ready.
I think you're going to do just fine. So I want you to imagine that the world has gone silent.
The world has gone silent?
The world has gone silent.
Okay.
And everyone who is living can look at a screen and they see you. You have this platform to stand and connect with everyone in the world, and you have approximately 1 minute. What would be your message to the world, and what would you say?
Why has the world gone silent? Is this just a temporary 1 minute thing and it's back to normal?
They're listening to you.
Oh, just for that. Okay. I was like, wait, am I talking about the end of the world here? Do I need to have an end of the world message? Okay, if I had a moment to share, I would say either you believe in miracles or you don't. And if you live a life where you believe in miracles, then you start to listen and you start to feel magic. If it's the next book you're supposed to read, if you're in Barnes & Noble, something might fall off the shelf in front of you. There are no coincidences. There are no accidents when it comes to our interactions with the universe and everything that's bigger than us. And I would say believe in miracles and live life expecting and looking for those.
Incredible.
Did I answer your question?
That was a wonderful answer. That was a wonderful answer. Crystal, thank you so much. I think it's important that we express gratitude and that we felt you really came and brought a powerful message, and you were kind enough to let us in to your previous experiences in life that's helped cultivate the life that you live and the resources that you've been able to give to helping so many men and women, you know, not just here remotely, but all over. And your story is inspiring. So thank you for having the guts to go and venture inside and find who you are, because in doing so, you're able to help other people go out and find who they are. And it's very, I'm very flattered that you came onto the show and were able to share that. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm flattered. Thank you for having me. And there is no end to the journey. I have not yet discovered who I am. It's a continuous, ongoing thing that will never end.
So that means that you're going to have you back on this show for part two.
I'm committed to the journey. And I think that's the thing. The journey never ends. We're never going to get there.
There you go.
No one ever is.
You'll never arrive.
Nope.
Wonderful. Listen, you guys, this has been a powerful message. I definitely recommend going and checking out Crystal on Facebook. Again, that's CRYSTAL. Everything is looped down in the show notes. You guys definitely subscribe. Share this video with anyone, everyone that you feel this will be powerful for, because remember, if this is something that will influence you, it will likely, definitely influence somebody else. In addition to that, how you can help the Natt Fitness method expand so that we can get more guests to continue to do this is by doing two things. Definitely join our YouTube channel by joining the Natt Fitness Level Up Nation YouTube channel and subscribe, or go and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or on Spotify, and subscribe and rate and review. And until next time, my friends, we look forward to seeing you. Have a great one, and always remember, level your life up. Take care.